How's it going, guys? My name is Brian Cho and I'm doing a new series for budget lenses. So I'll review anything under $200 USD, and this can be any lens that's like horrific to a stellar performer that's surprisingly within this budget range. So let's start off with a surprising performer, which is the Viltrox 25mm f1.7 Air lens. So the Viltrox 25mm f1.7 lens is meant for crop sensor cameras. This is a 25mm in APS-C crop sensor mode, so it's equivalent to about a 36-37 in full frame equivalence. This lens comes in Sony E, Fuji X, and Nikon Z mounts. So let's quickly cover the construction or the body of this lens. This is a 170 gram plastic construction lens. I consider this no frills, meaning that there's no aperture switch, no aperture ring, no AF/MF switch, no custom function button. It's just a really light plastic lens with a very, very loose focus ring. Basically, it just means ease of use. There's nothing to really tinker with. It's just on your camera and you're ready to go shoot. It's got a 52mm filter thread, which is a little annoying because their full frame Viltrox 50 f2 Air series lens is a 58mm, but they're nearly the same size. I really wish they would just standardize this if they're going to make a series of these lightweight plastic lenses. I had to get a step-up ring, 52mm 67, to match my variable ND for when I'm doing video. It's just annoying to having to carry these around. It comes with this plastic lens hood, which I really do not like. I mean, it's a cheap budget lens, so like I really can't complain too much about it, but it's really annoying to try to put on and take off. It feels like it's just tearing the plastic. So it's just such an unsatisfying feeling that I never want to use it. This isn't weather sealed, so you're not going to get a rubber gasket or any sealing between the seams, such as a focus ring. I think this is a miss. I think they could have just, put like a really cheap rubber ring on the end to at least protect my camera sensor. And you can see here that it has a USB-C port for updates. I don't believe right now that this lens is on their update page. I might have to double check that, but the last time I checked, they listed every other lens in their setup besides the 25-17 for Sony. So I guess there's no updates. Not quite sure about that. So let's talk about the optics in here. There's 10 glass elements in 12 groups, and it's got 9 diaphragm blades. So you're gonna get, decently shaped bokeh, but your autofocus areas are gonna look a little messy. Not in like a terribly bad way, but it looks a little busy, and you won't have like perfect bokeh balls when you're stopping down throughout the apertures. And I'll talk about that next, since we're moving on to image performance. Now, if you remove the Viltrox branding from this lens, I would believe you if you told me it was a native Sony G series lens. This thing is a stellar performer and honestly surprised me how well it performs for the price point it's at. I thought that this performed just like a native lens. I'm shocked that third-party lenses are performing this well now. So when you're talking about autofocus speed, this thing is incredibly snappy. It has this quick stutter when switching between focus points of like really great distances. So if you're choosing minimum focus to something way out there in infinity, it will jitter a little bit, and I'll show some examples compared to my Sony 24-14. The 24-14 will smoothly focus to each subject point, but the 25-17 has a little bit of a stutter when switching. You'll only notice this when you're looking at this in slow motion. If you're doing stills, you won't notice this. You'll just see it snapping onto eye, face, and any subject point. If you're doing video, this might be a little bit more complicated. I don't think it's the end of the world, but if you're looking for something that has like incredibly snappy focus, this might not be it. But again, you're paying $173, so I wouldn't expect that at all. Now, like I mentioned, I compared this lens to my Sony 24-14 G Master. I know that's a full frame lens, but it's near the equivalent focal length when you're shooting in crop mode. And I thought it'd be kind of funny to compare a $1,300 top of the line lens and see just how good the Viltrox can be. And honestly, like this stood up in terms of sharpness and autofocus speed. Now, when we're talking about edge-to-edge sharpness, it falls apart near the edges. Gonna get some chromatic aberration, some vignetting, not as sharp in terms of the corners, but I mean, like, you're really not gonna see this when you're shooting wide open at 1.7. It's very, very minimal. I'm comparing this to my Sony 1.4, which also has a little bit of vignetting, chromatic aberration too, so it's not like both lenses are super crystal clear when it comes to edge to edge. One thing I will point out is that the Viltrox, and I think like their other Viltrox lenses, has a warmer cast to it. I think this is due to their coating, whatever they use for their glass optics. And so if you're just white balancing in Lightroom, I think it's fine. Again, like in terms of chromatic aberration, you can always go in there and just click a button with some sacrifice of loss of detail. But when you're talking about video, in terms of matching the footage, you're gonna have to be aware that it has a different color cast if you're trying to match to something that isn't a Viltrox lens. Now, I kind of want to go back to the sharpness too, is that the center of the image for the 25-1.7 is astonishing. It's sharper than my Sony 24-1.4 G Master at 1.8. So even closed down a little bit more than the 1.7. The center of this lens, if you're shooting portraits or anything focused on the center of the image, it's going to be crystal clear sharp, and it'll stack up to any premium lens out there. Now, of course, no budget lens is perfect, and so where it starts to fall behind isn't, the very minuscule, edge sharpness. It's actually the autofocus areas. And of course, it's a crop sensor lens, so it's not going to have that same creamy autofocus area as like a really premium full frame lens. But you'll see the difference in bokeh balls and the blur within the autofocus elements when you're looking at my Sony 24-1.4. So you can see the cars on the street. As soon as you're going to minimum focus distance, those bokeh balls really blow up and the autofocus areas kind of really blur together. But when you're looking at the footage from the Viltrox 25-1.7, you're going to see the bokeh balls only max out to a certain size. So in terms of your autofocus areas kind of blending together and creating this really nice creamy background for background separation from your subject, you're not going to get that with the Viltrox 25, or at least to the same extent as like a really premium full frame lens. So quickly wrap it up. I mean, I was shocked by this. Like, I had bought this before a corporate event that I was shooting, and I was just like, you know what, I might as well use this on my B camera and try to get some more coverage. But this performed like a native lens. Like, again, I used this lens in a real world scenario and it didn't really miss a beat. It's not the prettiest image that I've ever gotten in the world. You're not going to get amazing background separation, but it got the image, and that's all that kind of matters in that scenario. So if you're someone that is a travel photographer or just someone that needs a lightweight lens for stills photography while you're on the go, the Viltrox 25-1.7 is amazing. And again, it's a crop sensor lens. So if you're a Sony a6000 shooter, Fuji X shooter, I think those people are the best candidates for this lens. Again, it's incredibly light, no frills. You're not going to be tinkering it with it half the time. You're just going to pick it up and go. So I think that's the best perk about this lens. So that was a lot of fun. I think the Viltrox set an unfair standard for this new budget lens review series. If you have any lenses out there that you want me to test that you've experienced, or you want me to do a little review on, please send that information my way. I'm trying to spend my own money on this budget lens review series to make it as unbiased as possible. So thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for more of these videos.